Hello, I am Kent Barby, Process Improvement Manager at WB Manufacturing. WB Manufacturing is located in the city of Thorpe, Wisconsin. We currently have over 200,000 square feet of manufacturing space and employ over 250 people. In this next slide that you see here, I'm just going to be showing you probably in the next 3 slides some of the things that we make. So we started with lockers when we started doing commercial casework. We went into healthcare. We do colleges and schools. We do a lot of furniture for libraries. STEAM education is a very big topic around here. We build furniture to fit those needs. You'll see some of those shapes in that upper left-hand corner. Those are designed to go together to make various shapes for the classroom. We also do reception desks. In 2015, WB broke ground on 55,000 square foot casework addition. We filled up about a third of the building at the time, but we had plans for more equipment. And now that is completely full. We began investments of over $6 million in new equipment, with the majority of that being BSA equipment. And we went and worked on, I'm going to take that last part over. After the new equipment, we had to change focus a little bit with our 2020 Insight software. We concentrated a lot more on shop floor integration and implementation so that the software worked more together with the equipment that we got, because there were a lot of data needs, and 2020 Insight was able to provide all those needs. This is just a list of some of the equipment that we've added. Probably the biggest ones that look the nicest over here, but also the hardest to implement, were we added 2 robots for storage and kitting stations, and we added some auto loading and unloading. Insight was able to supply all the information needed to run that equipment. WB went through an extensive search for software that would fit us. Our needs were that we wanted to be able to do everything in one software. So what really drove WB to 2020 Insight was it being the only software that had fully integrated entry configurator hooked up to an engineering package. So from quoting to shipping and everything in between, we do in Insight. I like to say that Insight is the glue that bonds our customers, the office, and the shop floor needs together. We save pertinent information of an order like emails, drawings, special shipping needs in Insight. We try to put everything into the software. In 2020, Insight becomes a single source of truth for WB Manufacturing. We're constantly striving to eliminate silos of data information. The days of a few people with detailed knowledge in our company are fading away with sharing of data, thanks to Insight. Thanks to 2020 Insight, being able to drive the equipment out on the shop floor, you can see here that WB was able to double sales in 4 years. And it was a lot of growing pains, but software has always been there to help us out. Well, I show you some of the software and how we use it and how it's beneficial to us. What you have here is a standard configuration for a cabinet of ours. Now, this has all of the options shown, so this is a totally fully blown out configuration. Sizes are all customizable. assembled or unassembled is an option to be picked, same with toe bases, and everything that's needed for color throughout the whole software. What I want to kind of point out is the select pole option that's at the bottom, which is a black recessed pole, and the fact that we chose a lock for this cabinet. You're going to see how that drives the shop floor in a couple slides. So 2020 Insight allows us to either use fixed routings or configurable routings. For us, we have highly configurable routings, so that way you can have one routing and have conditions on those routings for the operations, and allows us to add operation times to the work centers based on the options choice. So one of the options that you're seeing here that's conditional is for the second side machining for the weekly router and the weekly VHX. And here is a configured routing after it's been processed. And you'll see, because we chose that recess pole, which needs machining on the front of the door, and you already have machining on the back of the door for hardware to connect the door to the cabinet, we need to have a two-sided program. So the first side with the pocket gets done on the door, and the second side we made two programs. The main routing that you see here is the VHX machining, but in case that machine were to go down, we've added the other router in there, so at any time we can just flip to that machine. After we've entered a cabinet and configured it, it goes through, it creates the routings, it creates the operations that are needed for that cabinet. We schedule that cabinet on a production order. We then firm that production order, and work orders are created, and then the scheduling is also created off of that. So you can see that the cabinets that were on the production order were added. They were given an ICN number, which is a unique part number for each shippable cabinet, but also each part within the work order also has a unique ICN. Right now, what you're seeing is a firm production. When we firm the production order, we release the work orders to the floor, and we create a cut list. Here is a cut list in our optimizing software. On there, you see all the different parts that we have, and if you look closer, you'll see the part ICN that I was talking about and the cabinet ICN that goes to. So every part has a unique part number that goes to a unique cabinet. I emphasize that just because that part ICN number is really important for us for replacements, because with that unique part ICN number, all we need to do is reject that part ICN number, and it will be remade for you the way that it was processed. It's also really important for warranty work. Someone would like to get an order, a door replaced after 5 years, and maybe you changed your hinge location or maybe hinge type. Because it's a unique part number that's tied to a unique CNC machining file, we can remake that part many years later exactly how it was made the first time. Here you're just seeing that we have posted that NAS file. We put it on what we call WinStore, which is the material handling machine that picks up the panels and automatically loads onto the routers. I'm just showing you the integration that is possible with 2020 Insight. Now there's the storage system picking up panels, and there's a finished panel that is labeled and then gets pulled on to the router. When the part is done, being cut and pushed off, we load it into another edge banding line. What you're seeing here is just a couple examples of the labels. It's telling me which sides need banding, which order to band them. Most importantly, though, is that 2D barcode. Everything in our shop, for machines and for tracking, is done off of that label. That label drives our entire plant. We do not have any paperwork on the floor. We have a bunch of screens on the floor that people are able to look up data or see data as it's scanned. And that's running 2020 inside for the shop floor. What you're seeing here is another tool of 2020 Insight. This is what's called Insight Machine Client. So after we nest a job, we send it to the 2020 Insight Machine Client. And as the router gets done cutting the part and it pushes it off, if you look on the left-hand side, there's part numbers there that I talked about that are unique parts. Those parts are immediately have their status changed from work order not started to nesting complete. When all of the parts are cut for a cabinet, and that's the other ICN number you see there, all the parts are cut for a cabinet, it automatically changes the top level cabinet to nesting. So that way we can track progress of the shippable item as well as tracking the individual parts. And this is just showing some of our equipment. Some of this has changed. We have the new edge bander that we are using. You can see that he's using the barcode to scan the parts into the dowel insertion machine. And if you look to the left, you'll see scanners at the top that are scanning the parts as it goes through the machine. Most importantly then is once the parts have all been machined, they've had their edging put on them, is we scan the parts to carts so we know where they are. So we have like a little finger scanner that you see there. You scan that 2D barcode and it pops up on the screen which location, and they scan the barcode that's on the cart. Like we look there at number 9, scan it to the cart, and that way when they go to assemble that cabinet, they will see where all the parts are scanned. When all the parts are all scanned into a cart and they've all been scanned into a location, they'll go to a status of ready to assemble. Right here, what I'm just showing you is what I've been talking about, which is the status of parts. And when you look here for these top panels, they're in different statuses. All this is live and being tracked as it goes through the machines. So you have edge banding complete. When it goes through the edge bander, nobody scanned that one that's being done, but that is a SQL database on the edge bander, and we have that SQL database talking to Insight and changing the status of the part that's edge banding complete. It's not on the edge bander. We also have dowel insertion complete, so once that part has been doweled, we can track to say that that part's been doweled. Now, the interesting thing is on these checkpoints for edge banding and for doweling, is you can have a user signing. So the person signs in with their username and their password, and I can tell you which person is running the machine when that part was edge banded or when that part was doweled. Now that was a part level status screen that we just done. Now we are on the status of the cabinet. And you can see that you have work order not started, you have nesting complete, and you have kitting complete. When all the parts are kitted, it will go to ready for assembly status, just not on the screen. And at the assembly screen, you'll see where we have the part number of where we scan the parts to. So it's part number 3 or part 30. We're also showing the operation time for assembly of 5 minutes, so they can monitor if we have the routings wrong or we have them correct, so that way we can constantly adjust our operations to get them fine-tuned. And because we're paperless, this is another insight screen. This is showing all the individual parts, and it's showing an exploded view of that cabinet. You can even see the pocket holes in that drawing. And if you click on any one of the green items, you'll see that the individual part drawings along with the cabinet drawings. So the exploded view is really good because we do a lot of custom cabinets. They can click on that image before they even start to assemble and say, okay, this is how that's supposed to work. And here is our assembly line 1. We have 2 of these lines. You'll see that the insight is off to the right there. And what they'll do is they'll use insight to figure out how it gets assembled. But more importantly, when they put it into the case clamp, they'll scan it, and it will change that part from ready to assemble to assembly complete for the status. And then it will come out this line that's on the right-hand picture, and they'll do all the finishing work, cleaning, put the tops on, put the adjustable shelves on, hang the doors. And once they've done that inspection, they'll scan it again, and then it will go to a status of inspection complete, and a final label will be printed out. The final label will have information for what room, what elevation that cabinet goes to. You can see the scanner that we have sitting right for the stretch wrapper, and then you can see the cabinet being picked up with the lift there. We'll put that onto a pallet, and once it's on a pallet, we'll scan it to the what's called like a manual container. And basically, you choose a size pallet, you scan your items to it. So if you have a 36-inch cabinet or you have a 24-inch cabinet, because those cabinet ICN numbers are unique, we know what's going on that pallet. If you have loose hardware and you put loose hardware in a box and that has its own number, we can scan that hardware to the pallet. And this just makes it real easy from a shipping standpoint, because as we create these manual containers, we're creating records. So when it comes to shipping, when that order is ready to be shipped, we know that we have 8 pallets. And we also scan those pallets to locations like you saw earlier. We also scan, once all the cabinets are on, we finish the pallet, we scan the pallet to a location. That location in the factory is displayed on the forklifts. All the forklifts have insight on them. And so they'll see, oh, I need to stage this sales order. It's going to have 8 pallets, and the location of the 8 pallets are in these locations. They go grab them and they stage them. Next thing I'm showing here is a little dashboard that we use for tracking cabinets. This is just a simple tool, just kind of show you little things in the short amount of time I have with it that we use for tracking cabinets on the floor. So we're tracking the top level, and I can see that the one demo I have some assembly complete, kitting complete, work order not started, and in repair. So like I said, we can scan that label at any time. It will put that cabinet into in repair, and the part that we scan will go into a queue for rejection. At any time during the day, we just run that queue. It sends a new cut list to our optimizing software. We run it, we cut it, and then we put it back in the cabinet. We know at the time that we run the rejection where all the children parts are. So we display on the label where the children are. So when you have that orphan part, yes, we're at the end. I hope it was beneficial for everybody. I kind of breezed through it as quick as possible, but still tried to give enough information. And I thank everyone for their time.